So they're holding off on this until their window is open. They'll open the window and they'll jump through. This is all tied into the pending war on Iran, the recent rape and slaughter of Libya, the prior rape and slaughter of Iraq, and what's going on in Afghanistan. And it's a big chessboard out there, but you, I assume, see it pretty much as one major enterprise pushing over the surface of the globe.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Also, to address what you just said, is that there seems to be an apparent paradox in this study in that the fractal pattern itself exists before the events have occurred. So you have to reconcile that somehow. Did the events form the pattern, or did the pattern actually configure itself to the event? So in other words, is history predetermined? Mm-hmm. And so that's the larger study. And the answer to that is yes, to a certain degree it is. It can be warped. And that's pretty much what we're looking at.
You mean Lady Gaga was predetermined?
Well, I believe that when we're talking about world political events and international economics, that kind of thing, these things are right on track. I don't see anything unusual at all. And you can do a historical study of this.
Sure.
Take it back as far as you want, even 1929.
Well,
that crash occurred exactly when it should have occurred.
Same, or was designed to occur. Same people. Who was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange on the day of the big crash in 1929? Bernard Baruch, the most wealthy Zionist financier probably of the last century, and his flunky lackey that he owned 2 times over, Winston Churchill.
Right.
There to watch the fun and games. So,
don't forget FDR.
No, he was there too.
Yeah.
These people show up at these events to what's bizarre. We saw that on 8/8 in London. There were some very strange people in town. You can go on and on. They know.
Here's a quote from David Rockefeller during a speech made at the UN General Assembly, September 1994. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order.
Sure.
That right major crisis is the topic of our discussion, the collapse of the global economy, precipitated by a massive 60% decline in the year 2012, followed by another 20% loss in 2013, according to my analysis.
That's 80%.
Total of 80%, right.
So they're going to have a lot of fun with 2012.
2012 is a very critical year. It really does seem like it's the key year in which the Illuminists have planned to create a global crisis for justifying their planetary surveillance grid and mass microchipping of the world population. That is the ultimate goal.
Don't think they'll need to have people line up for a needle, though. They've got these things now that are so small they can put them in food, and they'll simply lodge within the body. So
yeah, the technology is advancing to that point. I think a microdot is probably something that's on the boards too.
I think it's already actually probably created. You know, what they admit to is usually old technology that they're kind of getting tired of sitting around with. This book, When Will the Illuminati Crash the Stock Market, is predicated on your earlier records and performances of predicting other irregularities, shall we say. How did those come about?
Other irregularities having to do with advances in decline?
Yeah.
How did they come about?
What kind of tea leaves did you read, or studies did you perform, or science did you employ to come up with your past predictions that were accurate?
There's really no crystal ball reading involved. It's really basically very straightforward. I just happen to understand it very well. It was all fractal geometry and golden ratio and some other technical studies that I applied to the price movement. Mm-hmm. And I've been at it for quite a while, so I've got a lot of experience at it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And most people will make statements like the stock market's going to crash someday, but that's like saying it's going to rain eventually.
Sure.
But what I say is that we're going to have a major decline in the third quarter of 2012, starting in the second quarter, and then continuing in the third quarter. And then it's going to recover a little bit, and then we're going to have a secondary collapse in 2013, finishing up in the third quarter of 2013. And that we've just gone into a 4-year depression as of the second quarter of 2011. It's going to continue all the way through to 2015. It's going to be a 4-year depression. We're just now entering into it.
Okay, very good. All right, hold on, gang. We're late for our break. We'll do that and come right back. Gold. Does gold play a big role in your computations and your forecasts? It's 1740 something now.
Yes, I do follow the gold market. Are you sure you want me to comment on it?
Only if you want to.
The reason why I say it is because there's some vested interest involved. Gold market looks like it's going to pretty much follow the stock market until the year 2015.
Follow the market, and in other words, gold is going to go down as well.
I think we just saw the top. That's what it looks like according to the analysis.
Silver, the same. Metal.
Those two markets do tend to follow each other, yeah.
All right. So where are we? We are at the end of 2011. 2012, you're talking about the second and third quarters of 2012, yes?
Correct.
All right. What should people be doing? What should they be doing beside buying your book and planning now? I've been saying for a long time on the program that anybody in the market now kind of deserves what they get. It's not a place you want to be in.
Yeah, there's no question about that. There will always be the disinformation agents out there who will try to convince them that this is an economic recovery. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's a setup. So anyone who's remaining in the market at this point is going to be left holding the bag.
Theoretically, 80 plus % are institutional holders. I don't know if that's going to remain. It used to be the other way around, but now it's big corporations and so forth. Pension funds, what's left of them. So get out of the market and get into what, Sol? What do we do?
I think tangible hard assets that are usable makes a lot of sense because paper currency is going to be replaced with electronic wire transfers when this takes place.
In other words, the debit cards will go on steroids.
Correct. Exactly. There will be only certain ways to redeem, money. I mean, it's just paper currency will no longer be in use. I don't know how long it'll take them to phase that out. I have a feeling if we get the kind of crash that I think we're going to see by 2013, they can do it pretty quick. But most definitely, they're not going to retain the same type of currency or financial transactions.
Will they still call it the dollar? Most likely.
I don't know. They could call it the Amero. They could call it a combination of the Euro, Amero, the Asian and African currency. I'm sure they'll come up with a new name for something that'll describe this one world currency. That seems pretty certain because that is their objective. They want to be able to do that so that they can maintain everything on a electronic wire transfer computerized basis to where you just simply have a chip, get scanned.
In other words, they could call them, instead of dollars, they could call them globals or something like that.
Global units, sure. That would work. So to answer your question, I really think that people need to be a little more far-sighted right now. I think we have about 6 months before it really starts to get nasty, and in that time, people should be thinking what life will be like under martial law, because that is a reality, and it's just a question of when they declare it, and they've already done that in the past, say in New Orleans, for example.
Do we really need martial law when, in point of fact, everyone is already essentially in bondage? They're in economic, financial bondage. What are they going to do? They're in their homes. They don't own their homes, even if they think they do, or they're in apartments, or they're living in some kind of an edifice. They're in debt. The average household credit card debt is $20-something thousand. The average student loan is right up around, I think, 60, 70,000. It's 840 billion altogether, closing in on $1 trillion. I don't see where they'd need martial law, frankly. They simply close the bread lines or the supermarkets, and people line up and they'll do whatever kind of tricks they're told to do to get fed. I think that kind of control exists right now.
Well, there's no exaggeration, but you have to account for the FEMA concentration camps that have been built all across the United States. There has to be a purpose for that.
I still haven't seen, excuse me, but I don't mean to dispute that, but I'm going to dispute that. I've been at this 18 years. I've yet to see any solid evidence of concentration camps built all across the United States. Now, there are a few camps, no question about it. Every government has them. Every company thinks about how to take care of dissident stockholders, and every government thinks the same way about dissident patriots and citizens. They've got facilities. They've got military bases that are closed that could easily be put up as concentration camps. But I have not seen, and maybe I misread your statement, but I have not seen any evidence whatsoever of an organized string network of FEMA concentration camps anywhere. And I've been looking. So maybe you've got better sources than I. I think they're there. I think they're kind of an on-demand thing, but I don't think it serves any purpose. I don't think they need it. I don't think they would gain anything by housing several million people in camps when they've already got them housed in debt and in poverty and held by the short hairs in terms of petroleum for their cars, loans to buy things, food in the stores. And hell, that's damn near total control now, isn't it?
You're right. They have got other ways to anesthetize people to the point where there's no possibility that they're going to react in a violent way. I mean, just think of what they're putting in the food, the aspartame, the MSG, and so forth.
Well, exactly. And
the vaccines and everything.
Fluoride, the vaccines, you've got an excellent portion in the book which really details that very well. The spraying from above,
right,
the fluoride in the water. This society is so toxic now. And look at the Occupy movement. How many people involved in New York? A couple hundred? 1,000? I don't even think 1,000. So out of 330 million people, you get 1,000 people bitching and yelling in New York at the wrong place. They shouldn't be on Wall Street. They should be in front of the Federal Reserve. I'm not particularly impressed, frankly.
Right. I did make a statement in the book that the second great American Revolution will be a non-event. 1 in 100,000 people will actually be able to create some kind of resistance. So, yeah, I agree with you that there aren't going to be great numbers of people who will be physically or cognitively able to raise any kind of defense. So
not anymore. No. Those days are gone.
So.
Television is the most massively effective penetrating drug probably in history. You sit someone down and turn that thing on and put a remote control in their hand with 250 pushes where they can get a fix sooner or later on something that catches their interest, not to mention the electromagnetic signals that are embedded in those frequencies, the harmonics and the sound, all the other things that lull the brain, in fact, instruct the brain to conform to whatever it is they want. I mean, it's the control is so astonishingly thorough now. I just don't see the need for this was 25 years ago. People were concentration camps. I think they're superfluous now. That's just me, but anyway.
I did make that point in the book that the only way that I can account for the massive dumbing down of the American population regarding chemtrails, the inability to perceive chemtrails, it has to have something to do with encrypted mind-controlling frequencies coming off on the TV, because everyone essentially is a captive audience to a television in their house. So that seems like the most likely portal. That's the only way I can account for it.
Yeah. Not this kid, but virtually everyone is. I haven't had TV for 22 years.
Yeah, I threw mine out a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, hold on. We'll be right back with Sol Esprit and his book, When Will the Illuminati Crash the Stock Market? A very thoughtful book, very interesting. Look under his name and click on the link, take you right to Amazon, and you can get yourself a copy of it. Art by David Dees, and we will continue in just a minute.